What's going on YouTube? This is Mason AJ.
And this is Lance Excalibur.
This guy's
Mine was better. Did you see my mask go on though? Did y'all see that? Mine was better though.
No.
Do it again.
Okay.
Do it again.
Okay.
Do it again.
So then it's just simply like
nah, son. Mine was better though. I feel like all the power in mine. Okay, anyway, my name is Lance Excalibur, and we're here to talk about some stuff.
Anyway, so in today's segment, in our previous video, when we talk about Supergirl, we referenced the fact of what do nerds want more nowadays? Would they want more dark and gritty or
light and witty is what we call it. I don't know why we call it light and witty.
No, because it's light and it's campy and
light and witty. Okay, fine. Light and
so
witty.
Pretty much it's dark and gritty versus
light and witty.
And with this argument is, like Lance Excalibur has said in the video, where it feels like the nerd community and people in general just want more darker and darker.
Everybody wants to dark.
And everybody wants to turn into Batman. Even though Batman is also pretty awesome, I'm just saying. You know, who doesn't want to be Batman?
Anyway, right here we have the S on my chest, representing Superman, because he's light and witty supposedly to everybody. But a lot of people say the Henry Cavill movie was kind of dark, which whatever. But we're here to clarify the difference between light and witty and dark and gritty, and why people like and why people don't like it.
Well, to start things off, I gotta say, me personally, I always love dark, gritty stuff. You know, some of my favorite superheroes are the Punisher, Daredevil, even the Hulk. Even though he's not so much dark, but he's a lot darker than most people. And when I see darker material like Daredevil or like Christopher Nolan's Batman series, if you want to say like that, I actually enjoy that more than super campy things like The Flash, or more like the super campy, or Supergirl, or even like the old school like Christopher, like
no, okay. Let me clarify. Okay, look, listen, because what you call it light and witty is not really like, because first off, the Flash is one of those things. Okay, let me say this, because the Flash is one of those people that's like, let me tell you the difference between light and witty from what he stands from. It's someone who dark and gritty. Stop it. Dark and gritty is like Batman pushes everyone away. I'm a loner. I don't care about nobody. Everybody sucks. If somebody tries to help him, he pushes them away. He breaks the rules to get stuff done. He brings fear into the hearts of the criminals. He wants them to fear him. It's one of those things where everything about you says that, you need some help. Like you just like seriously, like you need help. My costume is black. I hide in the shadows. I want you to be afraid of me. And this is what I'm talking about.
Hold on. I do want to clarify. We're not talking about particular characters. We're really talking about the nature of movies and shows.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. In any show, not just Batman. I know I did say use Batman example, but it's any of these shows that try to like they try to glorify darkness and pushing people away and doing things by yourself. It's like, I don't need nobody but me. And this is one of those things where it's like, and what I do love about these shows or these comics is that it ultimately always fails because they need a team or something to help them out. But then you got people like the Punisher and stuff like that who always succeed by themselves, and their pain makes them succeed. Don't get me wrong, I understand that some people do this, even in business and in life, but it's one of those things where you will always fail unless you have somebody that loves you or you love to help you push forward, someone to give you advice at times when you're low. You always need that stuff. And this is what I love about light and witty characters like the Flash and like Superman. It's like they're not afraid to put their feelings out there and say, hey man, I do need some help. Hey, tell a couple of jokes here and there. Make it fun, make people want to be around them. So when they do something serious, that they have somebody backing them. So
see, and I'm the complete opposite in the category. It's because I do like more heroes who are more about the grind of being a hero, because don't get me wrong, being a superhero is all dandy goody until someone dies or until you put in a real life situation, and then it's suddenly like it's not fun and games. Marvel's Civil War actually fully showcases that. They had the new warriors being heroes, and then it's like then you have the villains like, all right, no more games. I'm a villain and I blew up a school and everything else. And people are like, oh no, the horror. The X-Men literally have a whole dark and gritty past. People are constantly hunting them down, being prejudiced against them. And to me, a true hero isn't just about saving people. It's about overcoming those challenges. The X-Men, despite racism, sexism, mutism, and despite the Sentinels coming down and crashing crashing down their homes, are still fighting for the betterment of humanity. They shoulder that burden, despite the fact that a couple of times they have been massacred in pure genocide. Now, when it comes to TV shows like The Flash, and like movies like Man of Steel, I prefer more realistic expectations when it comes to like that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of my prime examples. Now, here's my first nerd question.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is pretty awesome, by the way. But
from your perspective, is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a dark show?
No, it's not. It's not a dark. No, I can answer that. It's not a dark show because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does exactly what I just said. They love like especially Coulson. He loves his team. He will die for his team, not just because that's the mission, but because he actually cares for them, and you can see that in everything he does.
Yeah.
He jokes with them. He laughs with them. He thinks of them as family.
Now hold up. Now here's one of the key aspects, and this could just be his name is eluding me right now. He just told Josh Whedon. This could be just Josh Whedonism. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to me is a dark show, especially compared to other shows, because there are certain elements in that show which you would never ever see in The Flash. You have characters who have sex, which is a very adult. Not saying sex has to be put in there, but Barry Allen, you're never.
I really do think they're gonna have like Barry Allen Wilson happens. I really do.
No, I don't think that plays.
I think they're gonna do that.
Once again, that's your opinion. I feel Barry Allen and no one in that show is ever gonna get laid. No one in.
They do. They just don't televise it. Like they gotta televise it for you to know they had sex.
Whatever.
Come on, man. Everybody. People have kids on the damn show. You know they having sex.
No.
Come on.
No one in that show has.
You think everybody just had asexual? They just blame. They like a Ken doll down there. It's just like a Ken doll. Like come on.
But then also once again comparing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. darker and even Gotham, it's more darker tone. No one will ever have any type of significant physical injury. Thinking about it,
that's more okay.
And also looking at it, no one will ever suffer or at least showcase the psychological difficulties of dealing with life and death situations on a day-to-day basis. Don't get me wrong, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., spoiler, things happen to certain characters, and at the end of the day, you see months later, episodes later, they are brain damaged, or they are, or they have been taken over by aliens, and even though they've been saved, they're looking like, oh man, like aliens really kind of freak me out because of the trauma that I did, and I'm still trying to be a hero and do the right thing at the end of the day. Shows that are campy are very much, I compare them to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. At the end of the day, when you look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when you look at the realism of it, you have 5 children, high school, children who are put into a war against aliens and have to fight to the death
by themselves. And
when you look at it, at the end of the day, not say I'm glorifying violence or people like suffering or anything like that, but more like when you watch that show, you would never think just watching it that this world works. Okay.
All right. Let me just say this. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not dark and gritty. It's more realistic. Now, going to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what you was talking about. Okay, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not dark and gritty. It's more realistic versus because like I said, all those elements of the lighthearted stuff, the people care about each other. They want the team together. They're not pushing nobody away. They're not trying to do things illegally. They just bend the rules a little bit, which I think every good hero bends the rules, just doesn't completely break the rules. And so the team does bend the rules, but at the same time, you're right. People do get hurt and they get shot, but that's more realistic, not necessarily dark. That just means that this stuff really happens to real people. Because you gotta understand, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are composed of real people that have real fears, real worries like everybody else. Superheroes don't have those same kind of fears. When you're Superman or Supergirl and you can walk into you can go into a war with bullets flying everywhere and not die or not get hit, you gotta understand, soldiers come out with PTSD because of fear. Every step you make is an instant death. Every single step you make can be an instant death no matter what you do. Police officers go through the same thing. People who go through this kind of trauma where anywhere you move can possibly kill you instantly. So that's why these characters don't have these characters have PTSD. But when you go to a superhero character, when they can go into those same kind of situations, walk off unscathed, or just get hurt a little bit, but not really just be like dead instantly, then that doesn't create PTSD because you're not afraid of the same kind of things.
You know what I'm saying? You know what? That's actually a very good point. That's a factor. That's a factor of the situation that I did not take into account. But even when it comes to characters, case in point, dark and gritty, or also cool situations. Luke Cage's wife, Jessica Drew. Okay. Hey, I want to go and be a superhero because I have powers. Launched off to be a superhero. She then encountered the Purple Man, telepathic, rapist, murderer, and everything else, and he enslaved her for years. Okay, now and he kept her as his own personal pet hero. And looking from that, once she finally got free, she had to go through counseling and everything, and she went on to become a great hero in The Wife of Luke Cage, and be a mother and everything. And you see how that experience changed her. With Light and Campy, the experiences don't ultimately change. Flash, don't get me wrong, has grown, but Flash are filled with one-sided characters. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's really just more like who's the villain of the day or who's the villain of the week. But like going into the Flash, maybe what I want is more realism instead of just lightheartedness. And maybe I'm mixing the two.
Everybody wants a little bit more realism.
But no, not a lot of people do, and that's where it's like, and that's where the light and campy versus dark and gritty, because when you put life itself is a little bit dark.
Yes.
It's a little bit dark, but doesn't mean you can't have fun. Don't get me wrong, if we were superheroes and me and you were superheroes, we would still be saving the day and still be joking. That's still our fun.
We are superheroes.
Well, what was see that on the camera?
I'm sorry, my bad.
Secret identities.
My bad. Okay.
But we would still be having fun, even though we are technically, even if we were firefighters.
Right.
Okay, we're still fun, still my buddies like that, but we're still saving the day, and we're still walking away from those experiences. With Light and Campy, I don't feel like no one actually goes through anything significant in the world, and the world itself doesn't work. In the recent Flash episode, Barry Allen's stepdad was trying to get a police barricade done for so that way they can move the criminals.
Right.
They had a very real moment where the DA was looking like, yo, technically speaking, if what you're telling me is true, which I don't want to know, you're dealing with human trafficking, abduction, kidnapping, a whole list of charges. And I'm like, that was a very real moment. And she was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. You can do what you do, but I don't know this, and I hope this works out for you. Right. That was a very real moment. She wasn't any.
She actually said she would prosecute him if he actually.
Because that's how the world works. And when I see stuff, and once again, I understand we're dealing with superheroes and Super Speed and Flash and Superman, but you know what? Let's talk about one of the heart and soul of Light and Campy versus Dark and Gritty, the Man of Steel movie. Okay. Now, relatively recently, a fan has gone and added a color palette swap of lighting to show how the camera is still the same scene, but it's a lot brighter. And I actually do prefer the brighter.
That has nothing to do with Light and Campy. I know what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is, the aspect of the dark and gritty was it was so dark you could hardly see it. And Christopher Nolan is known for his dark scene, but the fact that you just added more light didn't necessarily change the scene, but it did make you feel better because now it's clear skies as opposed to dark and broody skies.
And it is true, a lot of dark and gritty does go by what you visually see. So even Daredevil was very it was every time he went out it was dark outside.
Dark.
Even in the daytime it would be inside where there wasn't a whole lot of light. And when they have so it was one of those things where it did feel more dark and gritty. But as I was talking to him about it earlier, Daredevil wasn't really dark, it was more realistic because realistically Daredevil didn't push people away. He actually loved his friends, he actually kept them close. He just had that issue where he loved to fight, he loved to battle, he loved to get hit, and you can kind of see that he had some daddy issues going on. No, he did. He had some daddy issues going on up in there. And this is why he was doing it the way he was doing it, trying to shut out all the noise that he had by beating people up or getting hit. That was one of his things. That was one of his negative flaws that he never pointed at, but it hinted at. You can kind of see it in his character. But the show itself wasn't really dark, and
it was a very dark show.
It was a dark show, but what I'm saying is it was dark because of the things that was happening, because of all the blood, because of this. But the character himself was a very light character when it came to the people around him.
Right.
And this is what I would like. Daredevil did a good balance of gray. You know what I'm saying? It is a good balance of gray. Where I didn't feel like Daredevil was just a messed up dude. He was really he was a good dude who got unfortunate powers, and he has to deal with this stuff through violence.
Now, actually, I want to bring up a very good point, and I want to reference something else here, where there's an article going on is DC ruining Superman by making him dark and gritty and giving him a new look? And then, people have gone super hiatus, oh my God, it's not the Superman I love. He's a douchebag now. Look at him with his jeans and his buff t-shirt. I'm looking is him wearing jeans and a buff t-shirt? Well, like that. Is that somehow changing alternate characters? Is he not still saving people? Right. Is he not still saving babies? He's the Superman suddenly go what's a baby? and everything else. But
you know what? No, I want to comment on that because that's because I'm a big Superman fan, and it's a very
you can't tell.
Yeah, but it's a sensitive subject for me because I do agree with you. It doesn't make him automatically make him a negative character. character, but it's perception. It's kind of like saying like you meet a black guy with saggy pants and dreads on, and even though he's doing good, when you see him, you're gonna yell at him thinking like, oh, it's another one of those thugs. This is how you're gonna think. And it's just perception. It's just perception. That's not his character. He'll probably be a good dude who does a lot for the community, but the perception of it. And people don't understand perceptions is a big deal in society, but we try to ignore that and say, oh, you should never judge me. No, perceptions is a big deal. And it's one of those things where it's like, but if you're wearing a suit and tie and a shirt and you're walking up the street, you go, oh, this guy's an educated guy. He could be a bum. He could be like one of the most evil people you ever met.
You know what? American Psycho.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But Superman going to this look it's killing the perception a little bit. He doesn't look like a guy that's
but adding a little bit more realism. After Convergence and all these other storylines, Superman has been exposed by Lois Lane. Spoiler: Convergence, it's out there. Mm-hmm. And he's going through a lot of traumatic. I would say traumatic, but he's gone through a lot of change. So him, changing his clothes and changing his haircut, it's still more like it shows growth of the character.
Not to me, because you gotta understand when you're a symbol. It's like me as a father. I'm a father in my household, and I'm a symbol to my son and my daughter. And I can't let some trauma outside of my household all of a sudden make me come home and be a horrible father because, oh man, I'm going through some trauma, so you gotta just deal with it. No, I have a responsibility to the people who, to the people that I'm charged to take care of. And unfortunately, because he has so much power, with power comes great responsibility. In all cases, even in business and politics and everything else, Superman has the most power in the known galaxy. So it's one of those things where he needs to uphold his code a lot. I'm sorry, it's the truth.
No, hold on. Now here's the thing. What you just said is an absolute truth. But with perception, since you want to use that word, I'm gonna go reference back to the Man of Steel film. Okay. A lot of people have hated on Man of Steel, saying it's destruction porn and Superman didn't saving up people, and it was all about him and everything else. And here's where I look at it, and be patient with me for a second. Okay. I personally feel people who say those type of things have never been in a fight in their entire lives. And if I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below and let me know. But looking at it, I'm looking like Superman in this version has never had any type of conflict or physical altercation. He's actually been told to never get into any conflict. Yeah. He has never developed his abilities or even tried to learn more about himself and his powers up until the point of the movie for his whole life. Right. Okay. Now
he's been running from himself for the whole
life. So now that he's thrust upon it, he's just now getting his power. In the movie, for all the years he's been on Earth, he's just now learning how to fly, despite him being 20, 30 something years old. Right. So now he's thrust into a life or death altercation against not only other superpower people, but professional soldiers who have training, coordination, and everything else.
And his powers.
And people forget this. If you look at that fight with him and the big dude and the female Kryptonian Freya, like that, he lost that fight. He didn't win.
He got his ass beat.
And her hand-to-hand combat, it was only his plot. It was only plot protection that that didn't have her take out and go stab and you're done. Right. Now when he went to go fight Zod, this felt like a realistic take or dark, depending on that, of what it means for an alien invasion to attack Earth. Very much like Independence Day. And when he's fighting Zod, he is now, once again, it's a non-combatant, non-fighter. He's now fighting against someone who is a combatant and fight with powers, in rage, and he's doing the best he can to hold on to the situation. I don't believe it was his lack of will to save people, but his lack of ability.
Dude, it was like a Dragon Ball Z fight, man. It was one of those things where it's like, there's fireballs getting everywhere. It goes to show you, Superman is not like this combo.
I just want to say one thing. One thing. And I feel that people focus so much on the legend, the icon, the perception of Superman that we forget that he's still a man. And
he's not a man.
But hold up. In Man of Steel, this is how I felt. And correct me if I'm wrong out there, people.
He's wrong.
Okay. I feel like Man of Steel was about the man who then goes on to become Superman. At the end of the movie, it was a journey to become that mantle. And in the process of, it was a matter of, yes, dark and green stuff happened, but these were learning experiences to forge him into the legend. And we forget that anyway, people make mistakes and people themselves are fallible. Superman is still somewhat of a person.
To finish my last point though, the way that fight went, the way it played out, is one of those things where it's like, realistically, if three aliens with his kind of power, with his lack of experience, man, I'm surprised more stuff didn't get destroyed. I'm sorry, there's a lot of lives lost, and that's just how it is. Superman in the comics is able to save everybody's lives, but realistically, man, when you fight somebody who's equal to you or better than you, it's like people gonna die in that situation. I'm just happy he succeeded. Okay, that's just the first thing. Okay, but to go into like what you were saying, wait, what were you saying about?
No, what ultimately what I was saying was that with perception, with holding up the mantle, it's that like you said with your children, you have to hold up the man. You can't let struggles get you. But sometimes that can be negative because we forget that thing that you, as amazing as you are still a person, a man, and thus still valuable to a certain degree.
About him being a man, right? And this one, and that's the thing about it. He was discovering himself. He was very, he was vulnerable, trying to discover who he was. But I don't know, like. Bottom line is when it comes to Henry Cavill, because I don't know why we talk about Henry Cavill, but bottom line with that Superman is that, I forgot about it.
Okay, I'll finish it up with because Christopher Nolan and Batman and everything else. I feel like once again, dark and gritty is sometimes used, and maybe this is just me, in conjunction with more realistic tones to something what's always been held as unrealistic expectations to heroes. And it's like at the end of the day, and I'm looking at it, this is the way I'm perceiving it. And once again, feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this, and for whether you agree or disagree with me. Is with dark and gritty, because we're now dealing with a more earthbound and more realistic tones, we no longer, these are no longer super high expectations. Batman is not infallible. He's gonna sometimes fall down or miss a punch, or Daredevil is sometimes not always gonna save the day. Working in the Daredevil show, it wasn't, he actually thought that beating up criminals at night was somehow gonna solve the city's problems in his mind. But then Wilson Fisk was looking like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm just gonna go on public and denounce you and kill your name, which to me was dark and gritty, but still realistic. Yeah,
that was very realistic. But I mean, the bottom line is that these shows, like our heroes are like, because you gotta understand, we don't have a Martin Luther King anymore. We don't have a Malcolm X anymore. We don't have all these people that fought for us. Freaking, you name them, the heroes of yesterday.
But
we don't have them today.
I'm gonna be very clear. It's not just Black African American heroes. We're talking about heroes across the board.
Yeah, heroes in general. I'm just giving you my first thoughts off my mind. But my point is, we don't have the heroes of yesterday today. And these heroes like Superman and Spider-Man and all these guys that actually fight for justice and fight for what's right and try not to bend the rules, definitely not break the rules, is the heroes that like really, it gives us inspiration in a very subconscious way to like still fight for what's right for those, for those people who may struggle with that. And our police force is supposed to emulate that. And and I know this is probably going deep, but hear me out. No, hear me out though. When we look at like the negativity that's going behind in the police force, applied to and then look at the comics, it all looks like it's kind of going together. But the police force is getting a lot darker, and then our heroes getting a lot darker. And everything
and you know what? And you know what's funny? After DC Convergence, the fact that Jim Gordon has taken on the bat suit and the police department is trying to implement a Batman-like program, kind of seems like I can see where you're going from with this.
Everything's just getting kind of negative when it comes to our heroes. We're kind of slowly forming our heroes to look at in a very negative is okay. Like breaking the rules okay, breaking some bones and not giving a crap is a little bit okay. And it's just and it's not. But still
I wouldn't say it's okay. But with one of my favorite comics of all time, Invincible, the greatest superhero comic book, in the universe, I feel with Invincible as a comic book character, Invincible breaks bones, he fights people, and even he has been sexually assaulted, and he deals with teen pregnancy. There's a lot of things that Invincible deals with that Superman never deals with. Okay, I relate to Mark, the Invincible in the show, because Mark, you're a guy with extraordinary abilities, trying to do extraordinary things, but you're still just one guy, and you sometimes feel like I can't save everyone, and you have to have your girlfriend or your support network.
That's what I'm talking about. That pain of
But see, here's the thing. People would say the fact that they show that pain in the comic books makes the comic book dark. But for me, it makes it more real. I'm watching a person, not just a giant icon.
Okay, what you're talking about is realism. What I'm talking about is, okay, these things happen. He had to kill somebody. He did this, and then he walks away and says, so what? He shouldn't have stepped to me. We get to this point to where killing people is cool.
You know what? Let's take a step back. Because Supergirl just got announced, right? Supergirl is a super light campy show, and that show watching it, it's like you have the super goofy, oh, I'm gonna fall down, and I want to be a hero and be a better person. Right. But I still wonder about how I'm gonna get a date for Friday night and everything else. That's super light and campy. But I'm looking at you as I could never believe, or if you could possibly be a real person, I don't believe that the way you deal with situations would be effective.
Okay, I kind of disagree with you on that because you come in like I grew up in a very rough neighborhood. I grew up in New Orleans projects. That's just where I grew up at. So it's like I had
the origin story of Excalibur.
But at the same time, I had to learn the rough life very early, forcefully. There's some people who grow up and don't have to learn that rough life. They grew up pretty, a good family. They've been adopted, or they haven't been adopted. They grew up, or their family has money, and they have a really nice education. And life isn't that hard from the start, And at the same time, she could have been one of those people that just had to learn. Like, man, I grew up. She kind of goofy, she's been taken care of. She had to learn how to be an adult early, like a lot of us do. And what I'm saying is with that is that. That shouldn't be a crutch. That there are people in suburbia or something who live that life that actually needs to learn how to become a hero, even though they haven't had to have hardship.
And you know what? Barry Allen is a perfect example of that.
He kind of is.
Perfect example of that. But you know what? Comment down below. Let us know what you think about everything we've talked about. Any of the many issues. I know there have been many issues.
Yeah.
Do you personally prefer dark and gritty comic books, TV shows, or nerd adaptations to more lighthearted?
Hey, listen, lighthearted is the way to go. It's not only because if I'm going to look at something and learn from something or get entertained by something, I want something that's going to make me a better person.
Well,
that made me leave from want to beat somebody else.
And you know what? I say dark and gritty is the better word because it has a more realistic, earthbound tone.
Or everything be like Daredevil and just be great and just have that good balance of both.
The gray zone.
Yeah, the gray zone, because there's very few gray zone shows, and Daredevil did a good job.
And you know what? I'm Mason AJ.
This is Lance Excalibur.
Tune in next time. Peace.
Hey.
Nerd Talk.